Sometimes you F around, sometimes you find out. That's the way it goes. It happens to the best of us, but thankfully it also happens to the worst of us. And that's what I want to focus on today, because large multinational corporations decided to hitch their wagons to fascism in numerous ways, and now they're complaining about the backlash that they're receiving as a result of their own actions. Now, the funniest example has got to be Target, which is one of many companies that rolled back or eliminated DEI policies altogether after Trump took office. Now, remember, a lot of these corporations adopted DEI policies in response to the George Floyd protests in 2020, but just 5 years later, they're already reversing course so that way they can capitalize on this new wave of cultural regression that Trump ushered in. And it's pretty obvious that corporations don't have social values, and I think most people understand that they're just opportunists seeking to maximize profits, but the pivot was so sudden that it presumably even gave normies whiplash as well, and Target, which has always been perceived as a progressive corporation for some reason, pissed off a large portion of their own customer base with this action, which sparked a boycott organized by Pastor Jamal Bryant of Atlanta, and this boycott hit them hard. So much so that Target CEO Brian Cornell literally had to request a meeting with Reverend Al Sharpton before he and other civil rights leaders expanded the boycott nationwide. And as you can see from this picture, the meeting did happen, and Cornell is the melanin-challenged one to the left of Al Sharpton. And during this meeting, Sharpton confronted him, saying, "You made commitments based on the George Floyd movement. What changed? Are you trying to say everything's fine now because the election changed? That's insulting to us." And he asked this question because in the wake of George Floyd's murder, Cornell said the event moved him. Quote, "That could have been one of my Target team members," Cornell said in 2021 at an event hosted by the Economic Club of Chicago, recounting his thoughts as he watched the video of George Floyd taking his final breaths. And seeing George Floyd get murdered moved him so much that he claimed that companies like his should be leading the charge for social progress in America, only to then reverse course like that the second it became politically expedient. But unfortunately for him, his embarrassing attempt at damage control with Al Sharpton didn't really help at all, because CBS 58 reports that Target's problems are actually getting worse, not only because of the boycotts, but because of the policies of the president that they virtue signal to. Target CEO Brian Cornell said, quote, "We faced several additional headwinds this quarter, including 5 consecutive months of declining consumer confidence, uncertainty regarding the impact of potential tariffs, and the reaction to the updates we shared on DEI in January." CBS 58 reports Target stock dropped 7% during pre-market trading Wednesday. Target stock has declined 37% over the past year. Oh, I love this story so much. Inject this into my veins. But here's the thing. Target still hasn't reverted back to their pre-Trump corporate policies, so they're obviously trying to have their cake and eat it too. On one hand, they don't want to piss off Daddy Trump because they still want to be able to influence him, especially now that tariffs might affect them even worse. But at the same time, they want their progressive customer base back, obviously, because they shop there all the time. So they're kind of caught in the middle between fascists and progressives when all they actually care about is just making the line go up. So sad for them. But right now, it seems like organizers are the ones that hold all the cards, and since they haven't capitulated to them, well, the boycotts have continued. And it's gotten so bad that Target, as well as other corporations like Walmart and Home Depot, are actually warning investors that they're worried about even more boycotts. Christian Giacone, director of the Peter Arkley Institute for Risk Management, explains companies face a catch-22 situation. Consumers may be dissatisfied if a company takes a particular position on a social issue, or if a company takes no position at all. And as a result of this, corporations are kind of stuck in a state of paralysis about what to do because, both action and inaction is going to piss off some people in the country. So the question is, what do they do? Who do you piss off? And really, it depends. It seems like most corporations aren't down with LGBTQ plus people anymore because, as HuffPost reports, they've refrained from sponsoring Pride events this year pretty substantially. Although, the feeling is mutual because, as the Minnesota Post points out, organizers of San Francisco's Pride actually cut ties with Meta over their DEI reversal, and Target was booted out of their hometown Pride event for the same reason. And you'd think that Target wouldn't be too mad about this since they've already scaled down their Pride merch this year, and they're kind of doing it on the DL, so to speak, and selling most of their Pride merch online where somebody can't go into the store and film themselves complaining about it. But, Target's not alone here because in an overview of an analysis conducted by Gravity Research, the Washington stance is that most companies are actually also scaling back Pride celebrations this year, and some are choosing to stay in the closet altogether by making anonymous donations to Pride organizers to simultaneously get them off their backs while avoiding conservative backlash. But it's still risky because any one of them could become the next Bud Light if word gets out, but they think that at least being frenemies with LGBTQ plus people is worth the risk because one day, the culture will shift again, and they don't want to completely burn that bridge between them and LGBTQ plus people because they want to exploit and profit off of them. So they're kind of trying to walk this fine line, and Target's chief commercial officer said the quiet part loud when he was explaining why they're still trying to do some things that are perceived as quote-unquote woke. Quote, Rick Gomez, Target's chief commercial officer, told reporters in May that it's important to celebrate heritage months, which highlight different groups, from Latinos to Asian Americans to the LGBTQ plus community. Quote, they drive sales growth for us, he said. Wait a second. Are you telling me that these corporations aren't celebrating marginalized people out of the goodness of their hearts? This was all about sales to them? What? I can't believe that. They're so fucking cynical and evil. But domestic backlash is just one dimension of the crises that these large multinational corporations are currently facing because Trump's popularity abroad, as well as U.S. policy specifically, is hurting international sales. And we're not just talking about Tesla here, of course. I'm also talking about corporations like McDonald's, the symbol of American capitalism, who's suffering their worst sales decline since the beginning of the pandemic, and they're blaming a notable uptick in anti-American sentiment, particularly among diners in Northern Europe and Canada. That's weird. I wonder why Canadians in particular are suddenly so anti-American. It must be something that they did and not anything that we've done, of course. But I mean, that's international sales. Domestically, they're attributing a decline in sales, especially among lower and middle income areas, to declining consumer confidence. That is a problem because of many reasons, among them tariffs. Hey, maybe it was also a bad idea, McDonald's, just a thought, to let Trump do a photo op in one of your stores, because now it looks like he's associated with your brand and people opposed to fascism might not want to support you because of that. But I mean, what do I know? I'm just a lowly peasant who lacks the business bona fides of these big-brained executives who get paid millions and millions of dollars. But on the subject of international sales, these corporations were already in the shitter prior to Trump's return due to the growing prominence of the anti-Israel BDS movement. Consumers are learning about the ways that multinational corporations support genocidal countries like Israel, and they're choosing to vote with their wallets. For example, companies like Starbucks are especially feeling the heat, particularly in the Middle East, because customers don't want to support a company whose home country is funding a modern-day Holocaust in Gaza, and things were already bad for them in 2020, but in 2025, it's getting worse for Starbucks, and their pain isn't limited to international markets. Their sales have fallen the last 4 quarters in a row, in part due to backlash over BDS and their union busting, and the BDS movement is taking credit for a loss of $7 billion in McDonald's sales after the Israeli version of McDonald's announced that they were going to be giving free meals to Israel's Nazi-like IDF soldiers, which isn't going to be popular for obvious reasons. But political backlash aside, most corporations are also feeling the squeeze from the ongoing uncertainty with Trump's tariffs. CBS News reports that Walmart, America's largest retailer, lowered sales expectations for the current fiscal year because of Donald Trump's tariffs. So a lot of these corporate CEOs are facing a nightmarish situation where their annual bonus may increase by a percentage or two less because of the tariffs and also political backlash and due to other reasons. And this is so sad. I feel genuinely sorry for all of them. None of us can comprehend what they're going through right now. So, thoughts and prayers to them. On a serious note, this is actually encouraging to me because it's a reminder that Americans actually do have power, and these corporations cannot exist without us. And while I'm supportive of targeted organized boycotts in general, I think that we should all do our best to avoid these corporations altogether all the time. Think about, rather than buying a coffee at Starbucks, maybe you can support a local coffee shop instead. Instead of getting McDonald's, maybe there's a restaurant in your town that you've never had that has amazing food. You can't cut out all of these corporations entirely since they've destroyed so many local businesses and they're the only option in so many towns. But to the extent that we can cut back, I think that we should. It's time that the left starts to flex their muscle because these corporations have been fearful of backlash from conservatives because of the success of the Bud Light boycott and also a lot of complaining by conservatives. But there's already signs that they're beginning to worry about backlash from the rest of us, which is good. But that means that we can't let up now, keep the pressure up, keep boycotting them, and Don't support these blood-sucking companies who lobby government to do bad things at our expense, but for their profits, short-term profits in particular. So fuck them. This is good news that certainly is going to give me a little bit of extra pep in my step for today.
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games. F around and find out. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Play stupid game. Pride. Trans rights are human rights. It is necessary to push trans on the kids. Pride.